Namaste. Welcome to day 5, where we're working with the sacral chakra, and so I'm keeping my element of orange, ideally the same element, so that I have a sacred space within this and something that keeps me grounded within the work that I'm doing for that particular chakra. Now, the sacral chakra is a lot about our ability to experience pleasure, and that can be of any kind. Our taste, what we eat, and how we are able to make a connection of pleasure with the food that we're eating. Our ability to enjoy sex, or our own bodies even, or pleasuring our own bodies. Our ability to enjoy our creations. Our ability to bring forth play and ideas and concepts and bringing fun back. That's our inner child, connecting with our inner child. So one of the things that I encourage you to do and work with in the sacral chakra is to really question for yourself, if you're a man, whether you have always been in the space of having a strong masculine side and feeling disconnected from your feminine side. And as a woman, whether you have been exploiting or taking advantage of your femininity, but at the same time finding it difficult to connect with your masculine self. And although the masculine and the feminine are two different concepts, they are two halves of the same thing. And there is no masculine without the feminine, and there's no feminine without the masculine. They are two parts of the same thing. So really at this point of time, journaling for yourself, this moment is great to journal, to write down where you may be finding an imbalance with, as a man especially, you're not able to cry, you're not able to express your appreciation for things, you feel like you always need to be strong, you feel like, you're very, very fixated on certain kinds of roles that people need to play, and then as a man, there are certain roles you need to play, and you can't break away from that with ease or with creativity. And as a woman or a feminine energy, do you consider yourself to be weak or lesser? Are you very comfortable in playing in that feminine nature dominant space, but aren't able to find stability or discipline through bringing that masculine energy into your life? So the sacral place is a great place to find that balance, start looking at that balance. Because if we don't have a balanced sacral space, it's extremely easy to border into exploiting that which gives us pleasure. For example, alcohol, overindulgence, drugs, overindulgence, sex, overindulgence, food, overindulgence. And not having a disciplined parameter around that which gives us pleasure. So we're going to start by doing this in a movement-based exercise. And I invite you to connect with the pleasure of the movement. For a very, very long time in my life, I have always felt like what I needed to experience with movement was the discipline of it, was the practice of it. But now I've also come to realize that what I need to experience from the movement is the pleasure of it. So I invite you to move in space and just allow your body to naturally move. It doesn't have to be anything too complicated. You can stretch. You can, if you're somebody who likes dancing, you can create pleasurable dance movements. It could be asanas. It could even be something as simple as walking around, and maybe you don't get time to do that with ease. It could be moving your hips, because that's a very potent place to experience pleasure. It's connected to life. It's connected to our sensual energy. It's connected to our sexual energy. So really looking at how you can feel the pleasure in that part of your body. So I invite you to really move, but at the same time becoming aware of the pleasure in the movement. For example, maybe you need to do a deep stretch right now, and that feels pleasurable in the moment. Maybe you need to stretch your neck. Maybe you just need to collapse to the floor, and that feels pleasurable. So simply connecting with the pleasure of the movement. And sometimes that could lead you into very awkward things. For example, I feel called to work here right now and to just simply work with my knees, legs, hips, and just connect with movement that feels good. And you know how you've always heard this very cliched quote, no pleasure without pain? I also feel like they're the two shades of the sacral chakra. When abused, when overindulged, can really lead to very, very painful experiences. But even though it's a cliche, I do feel it has something very important to say to us. Now that I'm a mother, I understand what that means. To have the pleasure and the pain both. So if you're moving your body right now in certain places that's calling out to you, and there's a pleasure but there's also a sweet pain, welcome it. So just see what feels good for you right now. Do you feel like opening up? But remember, you're doing this practice for yourself, personally. Nobody's watching you, nobody's judging you. So to simply start by moving in a way that something calls and feels good. Working with just relaxing the breath. Letting go of those sounds that we worked with. Whenever you feel like there seems to be a release and you want to bring that sound. Maybe getting into certain stretches that feel good for you. Oh yes. A good stretch can probably be one of the most pleasurable things in the world. Just connecting with what feels good. I think a lot of times we tend to have judgment about movement that looks sensual. I should know. I've been a belly dancer for almost all my life that I can remember. There seems to be judgment around sensual movement because it feels good. And somehow we have been conditioned to move away or to secretly do that which feels good. On the other hand, if you can just connect with it honestly and allow yourself to feel the pleasure, to experience the pleasure, it's highly unlikely that you'll create an overindulgent relationship with it. Maybe tensing up your whole body and releasing. Let's try this now. After some free flow, let's go into tensing the whole body and releasing. Tensing the whole body and releasing. Tensing and releasing. Tensing, really all of you, and releasing. tensing and releasing. If we could develop a healthy relationship with movement, one of the ways the body wants to express itself is sensual movement. Now let's understand why. Just as a peacock opens its feathers to invite a mate, our bodies want to move sensually to invite love, to invite a partner. It's in our blueprint, and we shouldn't try to run away or escape it, but rather allow the body to express itself in that sensuality. And my need to express my sensual self through movement and your need are probably very different from each other. So just feel what it feels like to experience the sensual self. And if now we could move from that free flow into that constriction and relaxed movement into something very small and delicate. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but really delicate and tender within yourself. Just feeling, connecting with your body. Just gently connecting with your body. Using touch to touch and work with the different parts of your body through single fingers or 2 fingers or more fingers, hands or legs against each other, or the palm, the elbow, the legs, just touching the body and becoming its friend. And taking away the qualms of disgust, ugliness, disconnecting from that idea that I am imperfect. We all are imperfect. But that's the beauty of it. In the imperfection lies the uniqueness. There would be no uniqueness if we were all perfect. So just connecting with touch and experiencing what that feels like for you. Sometimes maybe you feel called to give yourself some rubs and presses and work with intensity within your own body of that pleasure, relaxed movement, but then something that's strong and relaxed movement, something strong and powerful. So we're combining all the concepts, the free flow, the tense movement and the relaxed movement. The concept of touching or allowing touch from one part of the body into the other. How does it feel to connect with your own body? Don't be embarrassed of it. Don't be ashamed of it. It's the greatest gift, is to have this beautiful body. There are days I'm unhappy with mine, and I know that most definitely there are days you're unhappy with yours. Nonetheless, it's yours. It's mine, it's ours. So playing with that tension and release. Tension and release. So just working with the different concepts and ideas in this guided movement practice. Connecting with parts or touching parts of yourself that you haven't worked with before. Your knees. Really cupping, squeezing, grabbing those knees. Parts of you that are calling to be touched. And if you feel like and you haven't, go for it. It's your body. And it's beautiful just the way it is. Yes, beautiful. Letting go of those sounds, relaxing, easing into the breath, searching or allowing the experience of joy to come, pleasure to come through the movement. Oh, that is one powerful exercise for me. Every time I feel, and I'm a very disciplined person, So every time I feel disconnected from my feminine, natural, creative self, this kind of a practice where I simply allow my body to feel and don't aim to do something grand or big, or something that is to prove something. This practice immediately brings me into balance. And then I can, after this pleasurable dance, pleasurable movement, go into more disciplined work, but with ease, because I have become more accepting of the moment. I have become more present. I have become more involved. And then discipline comes to me with ease. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say here, that if you're struggling with being addicted to any of the things that we spoke about, of course, getting professional help is a great way to go. But also owning up for that, taking responsibility, taking action, and finding the balance between disciplining yourself, but at the same time enjoying something, and to create that good comfort space between the two is something that I invite you to think about, journal about, question. Because with that, a lot will get unlocked. Are you resisting your sensual self? Do you come from a belief system that pleasure or enjoyment is only for those who have a lot of money, or only for those who have a certain status? And if you come from a certain background, you're not supposed to feel pleasure and enjoyment. Do you come from a background of conditioning that sexual pleasure is only for men and not for women? So questioning those beliefs, that which has conditioned you, is important, because a healthy balance in your sacral space, connecting with who you are physically, emotionally, vulnerably, within your sacral space, within your sensual self, within your creative, feminine, transformative, alchemy self, is a great way to start off and understand what led you to move in a direction of overindulgence. It'll be super helpful. So I hope these cues helped you a little bit in doing that inner self-work, but at the same time took you into a little bit of that enjoyment, that pleasure of the movement, because that's really the magic of having this human container. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.